Next, we'll talk about the user interface, the UI. It is a space where the user and the hardware or the machine interact. So, UI or the user interface is a space where the interaction between the user and the machine occurs. And we say machine because it can be a computer or a smartphone. And the design objective of the UI is to allow the user to effectively operate and control the computer or the smartphone. So if it is a good design, then the user can easily make use of the computer or the smartphone. And there are two major types of user interface, so-called the CLI, command line interface, and the GUI, graphical user interface. So let's look at the command line interface first, CLI. For example, this is the disk operating system in the 1980s. We call this the DOS, the disk operating system. So it is a typical example of the command line interface. It has no graphics, so it is usually in the black and white color, and we have only text. And the user has to input commands through the keyboard in order to control the computer. So, command line interface, for example, DOS, this operating system, and user input command to the computer through the keyboard. So it is difficult to learn and remember. Black and white interface, it is really not user-friendly. And next, we have the graphical user interface. Sometimes we call this GUI, GUI. So, for example, this is the UI of the Mac OS, Macintosh operating system. So this is composed of graphics, icons, and you can use the mouse to control the cursor or open an application. So this is a very useful or easy to use user interface. So this is the UI of Windows 8. So again, it is full of icons, shortcuts, and you can also see the graphics displayed on a colorful screen. So these are the two typical examples of a graphical user interface, Windows and Mac OS. User can interact with computers through graphical icons, buttons, menu bars. Windows, using a mouse or sometimes a touchscreen on a smartphone or a tablet PC. And the user has no need to memorize commands, except he or she has to use the keyboard shortcuts. And it is very user-friendly, and it is also an intuitive user interface. But of course, there comes a cost. A graphical user interface requires more computer RAM, more processing power. That is, you need a better CPU, and you need more disk storage to run the operating system. And next, we can look at some more advanced user interface. For example, a voice interface, which is used in Google Glass, because a glass is so small that you cannot build in a keyboard or a mouse or even a touchscreen on the glass. So if you want to input commands to a glass, then you need some other special interface, for example, a voice interface. And this is another example of an advanced user interface called the Tangible User Interface, TUI, where you can place objects on the touch screen or a table. And these are the commands. Actually, these different objects represent different commands, and user can interact with different objects at the same time. So this table or tangible user interface is a very effective tool for different users to collaborate with each other. So that's all for we have in the user interface. And we can round up here that the UI, the user interface, is the layer, the interface between the user and the system software, and also the layer between the application software and the system software.